Mr. Collins, you're all ready?
Yes, Council President, I am ready to go.
All righty. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This meeting is being called to order. Adequate notice of this meeting has been given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act pursuant to Public Laws 1975, Chapter 231. This agenda is complete to the extent known and was sent to the Trenton Times and the Trentonian newspapers, posted on the first floor bulletin board in the City Hall, filed in the City Clerk's office, and posted on the City of Trenton's website. Formal action will be taken. Roll call, Mr. Collins.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening. Mr. Blakely.
Present.
Good evening, sir. Ms. Caldwell-Wilson.
Present.
Good evening, ma'am. Mr. Harrison. Mr. Michelle will be absent this evening. He's an excused absence. Mr. Rodriguez.
Present.
Ms. Vaughn. Council President McBride.
Present.
Thank you, ma'am. We have a quorum. I'll call the directors. Mr. Cruz.
Present. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sir. Mr. Cherry.
I'm present. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Mr. Liston.
I'm present.
Good evening, sir. Mr. Bridges or Ms. Samuel. I'm sorry, somebody from the law department.
Good evening, President Sally Samuel for the Law Department.
Thank you, ma'am. Director Coley.
Present.
Good evening, ma'am. Thank you. Chief Mazier.
Present. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Director Delisle. Director Delisle.
Present.
Good evening, sir. Director Lopez.
Good evening, I'm present.
Good evening, ma'am. Director Anatiri is, are you here, sir, or is there a representative from Public Works?
Sir, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, good.
Director Richardson.
Good evening, everyone present.
Good evening, ma'am. Director Lavenberg.
Present. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Acting Director Zielinski. Ma'am, the director is our president has noted. Would you like me to proceed down the docket?
Yes, with the flag salute and the...
Yes, ma'am. This, first of all, yes, ma'am. First of all, the invocation. A special remembrance for Mr. Bob Porcillo, who passed away last night. I know many people in the city were friends with him, and many people who work for the city knew him, and he was a member of the Trenton City Police Department for many years, so our respects to his family. That being said, please remember him in our thoughts. Almighty God, who holds the fate of man and nation, we most humbly beseech thee to bless this our city, these deliberations, and these thy servants, that they may act with wisdom and understanding for the good of our community and thy greater glory. Amen. Please take our brother Bob Porcillo into your arms. Thank you. We could all rise to the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic
for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
Under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council President, would you like me to proceed with the docket?
Yes, please.
Okay, as noted at the conference session, we have an employee who has been approved by DCA, will be joining us, and his primary task will be minutes. So those should start at the next meeting. He will be starting with us next week. There are communications and petitions. I believe there were 30... $23 communications and petitions on the docket. There are no reports from the clerk's office. Are the communications and petitions, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a motion by Ms. Caldwell-Wilson. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Council President McBride. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So ordered. Council President, would you like me to proceed to there are no second reading public ordinances. There will be 2 public hearings on June 10th for ordinances 21-011 and 21-012. Would you like me to proceed to the docket, Council President?
Please.
Council President, we have a consent agenda. Before we proceed to the consent agenda, I have one item to clarify. Mr. Rodriguez had asked for clarification with regard to resolution number 201 with regard to the dates. Mr. Santora of Public Works confirmed that the dates are correct, that they are added, that the resolution specifically is asking for an extension to those dates. The gentleman, Mr. Rodriguez, had asked that the item be moved from the consent agenda if the dates weren't received. I wanted to see if he was satisfied with the dates and if he would like the item moved to the consent agenda or stay with roll call.
Councilman Rodriguez, are you satisfied?
Are you referring to 21-209 South Clinton?
Yes, sir, that is actually correct. 21 days.
Okay, thank you for making the changes. I got it.
So is it all right?
To the consent agenda.
Very good, sir. So that will be heard in the consent agenda. Council President, would you like me to read the resolution numbers for the consent agenda into the record?
Yes.
Council President, we have resolutions 21-194, 21-195, 21-196, 21-198, 21-200, 21-201, 21-186, 21-205, 21-207, 21-208, 21-209, 21-210, 21-211, 21-213, 21-215, and that is it for the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Blakely to approve the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Ms. Caldwell. Yes, ma'am, I do have your second.
Councilwoman Vaughn has joined the meeting, sir.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. I note that for the record. Ms. Vaughn, you've been noted as arriving. I'll now call the roll for the approval of the consent agenda unless Ms. Vaughn has any questions or would like a removal from the consent agenda.
Nope.
Thank you. I'll now call the roll for approval of the consent agenda. It was introduced by Mr. Blakely, seconded by Ms. Caldwell-Wilson. Mr. Blakely, your vote, sir.
Yes.
Ms. Caldwell-Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Harrison, have you arrived, sir? Mr. Harrison is absent. Mr. Michelle is absent. Mr. Rodriguez, your vote, sir.
Councilman Rodriguez?
It's freezing.
Your vote for the consent agenda.
No, I got it now. Do you hear me?
Yes, sir, I have you, sir.
Yes, but
Thank you.
the communication wasn't too clear.
Yes, sir. Ms. Vaughn, your vote, ma'am.
Yes.
Council President McBride?
Yes,
So ordered. The consent agenda is approved. Council President, would you like me to proceed down the docket?
please.
First, we have Resolution 21-169, a resolution authorizing an amendment to the contract with the law offices of Parker McKay, attorneys at law, 9,000 Mid-Atlantic Drive, Suite 300, P.O. Box 5054, Mount Laurel, New Jersey, 08454.
Council President?
Yes, there's a lot of feedback.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the feedback as we come up. This is 08054-1539 to provide continued professional legal services regarding legal representation in regards to general, municipal, and other legal matters in an amount not to exceed $30,000. This has been called for roll call. Do I have an introduction?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have an introduction by Mr. Blakely, a second by Ms. Caldwell-Wilson. The floor is open.
Yes, Councilwoman Vaughn?
Yes. This law firm, what is the, who put this forward?
The law department, ma'am.
Who in the law department?
I assume it would be Mr. Bridges as the acting director.
Okay, so it's, whoever put it forward, can they speak to this? Who introduced this? Was it the administration or was it somebody in the law department? Because I can't imagine it being anybody from the law department.
It was actually signed by Adam Cruz, so I'm assuming Mr. Cruz can sign it.
Okay. So what's going on here? So I don't understand. If it's not coming from the law department, why would Mr. Cruz be introducing an extension for legal, for the legal department?
Well, because Mr. Cruz would be the business administrator, and Mr. Cruz
No,
is...
I'm not asking you, Matthew. I'm
Oh,
asking
I'm sorry.
Mr.
My apologies, ma'am. I thought you
Mr.
were.
Cruz, please.
Councilwoman, Madam President, Madam President.
Who introduced the resolution, please speak on your resolution.
Madam President, may I speak?
Yes, please, Mr. Cruz.
Thank you, Madam President. So, Madam President, to the question, when the law department puts out contracts, because they review it, somebody else also has to approve it. You have somebody from the law department reviewing the resolution. They put it together, but the business administrator's signature appears on it because they cannot approve their own resolutions. So that is why I signed off on them. But this is a law department resolution.
But who introduced it, Mr. Cruz? I understand you're signing off on it, but who introduced it?
Who introduced it? The law department introduces it, and I sign off on it.
Okay, who in the law department? A person. Who introduced it?
I stepped away from my computer. What are we talking about?
We're talking about a resolution for the Parker McKay Law Firm, and adding an additional $30,000 to their contract.
I introduced that.
And can you explain in what capacity are you introducing it, Mr. Bridges?
In the acting law
In what
director.
capacity are you introducing ordinances, resolutions for contracts in the city of Trenton?
As the acting law director capacity, Councilwoman.
I'm not aware that the mayor has has appointed an acting law director.
You can take it from there. I understand where you're headed. Continue.
No, I just don't think that at this juncture, any contracts from the law department should be on this docket until we get the mayor to appoint someone to be the acting director or the permanent director. I don't see how we could be reviewing any contracts, let alone extending contracts for additional value in an amount of $30,000, and the mayor doesn't see fit to appoint an acting director or a permanent director. I don't think this is lawful. And I don't think Mr. Bridges, in all due respect, that he can't do this unless Mr. Cruz is the acting law director. Now, Mr. Cruz can be the acting law director. Has the mayor appointed Mr. Cruz the acting law director? Mr. Cruz?
Yeah, I highly doubt it. I mean, he's not an attorney.
No, Wes, I'm asking Mr. Cruz.
Oh, my
Is Mr.
apologies.
Cruz the acting law director? Because the mayor has not communicated to this council or the residents of this city who is the acting law director of the city of Trenton. So, this administration, can you speak to that?
Madam President, would you like me to respond to that?
If you would like, business administrator, if you would like to.
Yes, Council President, thank you again. The answer is Mr. Bridges had been appointed as acting law director until he is appointed permanently. He is coming to council for advice and consent on the next conference meeting that will be held, I believe, on June 8th. In the meantime, Mr. West will continue to be the acting law director for the city of Trenton.
Okay, so realizing that he has been here since December the 23rd, and the 90 days have expired. So here we are, and the council never introduced a resolution for extending Mr. Bridges as the acting. So, so why Mr. Cruz, why haven't the administration introduced a resolution to extend Mr. Bridges as an acting law director?
Madam President?
Go right ahead, Mr. Cruz.
Madam President, the reason is because we have been going back and forth with the Department of Community Affairs, Local Government Services, with appointing Mr. Bridges for the permanent position until the mayor's term is due in December of next year. We finally got approval from the Local Government Services a couple of days ago, but because the cutoff date for the for resolutions or ordinances was passed, we were unsuccessful in getting it to Mr. Conlon to get it on this agenda. But the approval has been done by DCA, and we also have the I'm sorry, give me 1 second. Someone was dialing me through Teams. And so we got the approval from DCA, we got the waiver number, and we in fact signed off, and we brought the communication to the clerk a couple of days ago, and this afternoon we also submitted.
It came today.
Okay, so the memo came today. So, but the resolution has been in your possession for a couple of days.
Yes.
Okay.
The advice and consent request came today, late today.
Correct.
So I will say that I will opt to, I would like to have this tabled until at which time the city of Trenton has properly appointed a law director of the city. And if that's next week, then I believe this particular resolution or any other contract coming out of the law department should be deferred until that time. I would like to, Council President, if we can, I would like to move to table this until we get until we get a law director appointed to the city.
I would like to ask Mrs. Samuels a question.
Council President, I must hear the motion to table immediately, though.
All righty.
I have a motion to table this resolution at such time as Mr. Bridges or someone else is appointed the acting or the law director for the city of Trenton. Do I have a second?
Yes, second.
I have a second by Mr. Rodriguez. I'll now call the roll. Mr. Blakely.
Yes.
Mr. Blakely votes to table. Ms. Caldwell-Wilson.
Come back to me, I have to do something.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Harrison, have you arrived, sir? Mr. Harrison is absent. Mr. Michelle is absent. Excused. Mr. Rodriguez, your vote, sir.
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn, your vote, ma'am.
Yes.
Council President McBride, your vote.
Yes, I needed to ask a question before I placed the vote. That's why I was trying to ask Mrs. Samuels a question before I placed the vote.
You are the chairman. It is at your discretion, ma'am. I did have to hear the motion. I did have to entertain the motion right away without delay.
Well, thank you. But I need to ask Mrs. Samuels a question.
Council President, here.
Yes, Mrs. Samuels.
Yes, Council President.
Yes, so if Mr. Bridges was the one to introduce this, my question to you is, did he introduce it while he was in the acting position? And if not, if he didn't introduce this while he was in the acting position, then why wasn't it another attorney out of the law department to introduce this particular resolution?
Thank you for your question, Council President, and that's actually in line with the vein of response or to your answer that I was going to come with. As an assistant city attorney, myself and the other assistant city attorney, just because the city does not have an appointed...
Please, so someone had to mute themselves. They have all kind of noise going on in the background. Okay, thank you. Go right ahead, Mrs. Samuels.
Okay, thank you. Just because the city does not have, say, an appointed acting or an appointed law director doesn't mean that the city cannot proceed in usual course, to deal with matters that are coming from the law department, or even to accept matters that are reviewed as to form and legality from the law department. And the reason why is because there are many assistant city attorneys that perform the same functions or similar functions. Yes, they're not the law director, but if you recall, Madam President, when there was an issue or there was questions as to John Morelli's position as the director, the department continued to function and continue to do the work and perform the duties that were required of it to submit resolutions and ordinances coming from the department. I can't speak with all certainty that Mr. Bridges was still the acting when it was introduced, because I'm not sure as to the dates specifically right now. But I will say that as a matter of course, this matter can be considered, by virtue of the fact that there are other city attorneys that are performing those daily tasks in the law department. And, it's on that basis that I would recommend, or in my humble opinion, that the council can proceed and consider this.
Madam President, Business Administrator, may I say, add a couple of more sentences to the conversation?
Yes.
Madam President, at the Tuesday night meeting, you requested that any resolution that had been signed by Mr. West, that they be re-signed, and you were okay with it, that they be re-signed by another attorney. We did send someone yesterday to go to Mr. Conlon's office and have the resolutions re-signed again by another attorney. Mr. Conlon, was that the case?
Yeah, and it should have gone out to the council. If it didn't, I apologize, but I believe it was sent out with the new signature. Julie Murray came down yesterday afternoon and re-signed Resolution 21-169 as to form and legality.
Can you show it to us now?
Yes, sir. Hold on one second, please. I figured this would be easier than going through my scans, but there is the Resolution 21-169, and there is the signatures with Mr. Murray's signature next to Mr. Bridges.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
So,
Mr.
with that,
Bridges' name wasn't there at the beginning.
Mr. Bridges' name was there at the beginning, sir. It was crossed out, and then Ms. Murray signed.
so
That is Julie Murray's signature right there on that document. That is Mr. Bridges' former signature, and that is Ms. Murray's signature right next to it.
Okay, I got it now.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so with that being said, I don't think that it needs to be tabled because it was signed by Julie Murray, and so my vote will be no, not to table it.
My vote is
Council President?
Yes.
I'd like to reverse my vote, considering the information that we have.
Mr. Harrison has joined. Mr. Harrison, there's a motion on the table to table Resolution 169. So far, Mr. Blakely has voted no.
I'm actually rescinding that. I just learned additional information from the administration that, makes me comfortable to vote not to table this.
Correct. So that's what I indicated. You voted not to table.
Okay.
Mr. Wilson also voted not to table. Mr. Rodriguez voted to table. Ms. Vaughn voted to table. Council President McBride voted no to table. You have arrived, and your vote to table. No.
No table.
The resolution failed. I have a motion now by Mr. Blakely to introduce the resolution. And I believe I have a second from Ms. Caldwell-Wilson. The floor is still open.
Well, yes, I had questions about this resolution Tuesday that were not answered. You know, why do we have to add $30,000 to this contract? You know, the information here is very general. Want more specifics on it, but nobody bothered to answer.
Yes, could someone from the administration answer that question for Councilman Rodriguez? And we all want to know why an extra $30,000 is being added to this law firm. Can Mrs. Samuels speak to this?
Council President, unfortunately, I am not sure. I can only presume that if an extra $30,000 is being added to that contract, it's because maybe that particular law firm is out of money. And so that's
I'm not here.
There's a lot of,
Yeah, Ms. Samuel, if you're outside, you're picking up wind in your microphone. If you could go to a less windy spot, that'd be appreciated.
Hey, Council President, I'll just go with Mr. Bridges here because I don't know what I am right now. Can I answer this question? Because Ms. Samuels doesn't have the information to answer this question.
Yes.
The same reason why we will be coming before you with other law firms, they have exceeded their original contract and they have to get paid for the work they've done. So this is the process that we have to take legally to effectuate this payment. We'll be doing that with this firm. We'll also be doing that with other firms, including the firms that are representing counsel in litigation. So it's just because we are beyond the contract limits that were originally set.
Well, but my point is that usually when we get a change of order in a contract, we get the specifics. This was done, this many clients were seen, or whatever it is. And I don't see that there. That's what I requested, the information on what, and it should come with every contract. All of those ones that you are going to put to us, you know, we should have the details on what happened, you know, what is it.
Okay, Council.
They say they run out of money. Running out of money is not convincing enough to me. I have to have the details. How many cases are pending?
Council President, if I may,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez, when did you make that request?
Tuesday. Tuesday
I
at the Tuesday meeting, yes. I requested in writing about this resolution. That's
You
what,
requested
I
it
was
in
the
writing?
one that asked for it to be roll call. That's why I asked for it.
I am happy to get that information. I do not have anything in writing requesting that information. But if you would like that information, I'm happy to provide that for you. But I do not have in my notes from Tuesday's meeting any request, verbally or written, for that information.
No, that was, I did request it. I requested information, further information on this resolution specifically.
All right, you said it was in writing. Was that in an email?
No. I want it in writing. I always ask for my information in writing because I am, just
what is that
send me
noise?
everything in writing.
Something from Mr. Rodriguez's line, man.
Is it okay?
Council President?
Yeah, you're fine, sir.
Council President?
So, you know, in every contract, every attorney contract, we should have something in writing, something behind the contract to show us what is it. Why do we have to extend that contract? Why do we have to pay more money to it? I believe it's just a fair thing. It's not impossible to do that, you know, like, probably past practice was different, but we
Yeah, I got you. So why don't I make a recommendation that we pull this until I provide that information for Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes, please.
Could I ask a question before you pull this?
Sure.
Council President? Where's the Council President?
She's here.
Yes, I said before we pull anything from the law department, that request needs to come from Mrs. Samuels.
But I wanted to ask a question.
Okay, yes, I was just responding to Mr. Bridges.
Mr. Bridges.
Yes,
regarding this. So this additional money, is this for ongoing litigation that's gone beyond their contract term?
That's correct, I appreciate the need for that. I'm happy to provide that. Again, that will be for the council's anticipation. That will be for all the law firms that will be that will need to go back for revision and change order. But I understand the need for that. Happy to provide that, and I'll defer to the council how they wish to proceed. Tata.
Council President? Sally Samuel?
Yes, go right ahead, Ms. Samuels.
So, I mean, just given the complication.
Sorry, I don't understand.
Incurred, I will make a recommendation to pull it in order to provide that information to the council, if that is how, you would prefer that it be handled.
All righty. Thank you, Ms. Samuels. Mr. Collin, under request of Mrs. Samuels, can you table that?
It'll actually be pulled.
Pull
it. It's being pulled by the administration for consideration.
Okay.
It's have to do with.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your question.
Next, we have Resolution 21-197, a resolution authorizing the settlement of an administrative law matter of Terrence Bailey versus City of Trenton in the total amount of $112,000. Do I have a motion?
So move.
A motion by Ms. Caldwell-Wilson. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Harrison. Floor is open. Council President, we proceed with the vote.
Please.
Mr. Blakely, your vote, sir.
Yes.
Ms. Caldwell-Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Harrison?
Yes.
Mr. Michelle is absent. Excused absence. Mr. Rodriguez?
No.
Mr. Rodriguez votes no. Ms. Vaughn?
This is for, I'm sorry.
This is Resolution 21-197, the executive session on Tuesday.
Oh, yes.
Council President McBride.
Yes.
So ordered, the resolution carries by a vote of 6-1. I'm sorry, 5-1 with one absent.
May continue.
Yes, ma'am. Next, we have resolution. There's a lot of consent agenda stuff. Resolution 21-199, a resolution approving the memorandum of understanding between the City of Trenton Police. My apologies. This is Resolution 21-199. I actually had a request from the administration late in the day to pull this. Adam, is that still the request?
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you. So noted. Resolution is pulled. Let me move on to the next one. This is Resolution 21-182, a resolution authorizing the purchase of, this is from the Department of Housing and Economic Development, Benjamin Delisle, Director. Resolution 21-182, a resolution authorizing the purchase of 24 Fountain Avenue, Block 7012, Lot 28, Trenton, for $37,000 pursuant to Humboldt Suites redevelopment plan. I also sent out the appraisal that Mr. Delisle sent, and Mr. Delisle sent some updated information late in the afternoon to council. If you haven't seen it, you might want to check your email. That came about 2-3 o'clock this afternoon.
Council President?
I need a motion first, if you don't mind.
So move.
I have a motion by Ms. Vaughn. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Council Vice President Caldwell-Wilson. The floor is open.
Go right ahead, Councilwoman Vaughn.
Yeah, so this resolution, we did get the appraisal that, I read the appraisal that Director Delisle put forward at the request of Councilman Rodriguez. I'm always one to have 2 and 3 appraisals, but considering the size of the property, 3 certainly is not necessary, but 2 is fine. I know the area as well. And I know, I recently, as I stated, this particular home was part of the resolution that didn't make it to the docket. But I hope that the other homes, since we are, it depends on how this vote goes. I just hope all my council members get out there and look at that block. It's shocking. And we need to move forward with it, not just for for the, I am not for not following process and procedures, but I'm certainly for moving a business like this forward, whereby the residents are very anxious to get this work done on that street. That street is in my ward. So I hope that my council members move this forward, because eventually the work is going to have to get done. So I just think it's prudent to do it sooner rather than later, and really for the benefits of our constituents. So I will be voting for this, and after reviewing I would be interested to hear the other council members' position after they read the appraisal. Hopefully, they all read it and understand it. And I hope that, and I want to hear what Santiago Rodriguez's opinion is about it as well.
Yeah,
That's all I have to say.
Excuse me, Councilman Rodriguez.
Yes, I am basing this on the email that Ms. Bond sent to Mr. Delisle. In that list, there were about 6 or 7 properties that were not city-owned. They were privately owned. Are we going to buy all of those properties, or what is it that we're going to do?
So, Councilman,
because there was, Ms. Bond should know that she said no to work on that resolution because she claims, and I have the copy of the email that she sent Mr. Delisle, that some of them properties were not city-owned. So what is, I have no problem with this one. I'm satisfied with this one, but I'm worried about the other ones.
For sure.
No, Councilwoman Vaughn. No.
I got the copy of the appraiser. I read it. Yes, Ms. Vaughn, I read it. I went over it. It says it has some comparables. I saw it. I am okay with the $37,000, but can you answer this question, Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, I can.
Why did you say that some of them were not city-owned?
Yes, Council President?
Yes, go right ahead.
So subsequent to my follow-up to Mr. Delisle, and I hope Mr. Delisle is on the line. Mr. Delisle, are you there?
No, Councilwoman. He asked you to answer the question. Answer the question. We're not going to call anybody else into play here. Answer the question if you would, Mr. Rodriguez, so we can move on. This is a vote.
The answer is the administration came back with further research, and we found that the state databases were different sources were not updated. So those properties are absolutely city-owned. So I sent the updated
you made a mistake.
No, I didn't make a mistake.
Okay.
There was no mistake.
All right, Mr. Collins, can we move on with the vote?
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. I have an introduction by Ms. Vaughn, and I believe Ms. Caldwell-Wilson seconded. I will now call the roll. Mr. Blakely.
Yes.
Ms. Caldwell-Wilson.
Yes.
Mr. Harrison.
Yes.
Mr. Michelle's excused absence. Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn.
Yes.
Council President McBride.
I'm abstaining.
So ordered. Resolution passes. Next, we have Resolution 21-202, a resolution authorizing payment for a contract with Carroll Group, Inc., awarded on an emergency basis for demolition services in the city of Trenton in an amount of $50,200. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
A motion by Mr. Blakely. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Ms. Caldwell-Wilson. The floor is open.
Take it to the vote, Mr. Collins, please.
Yes, ma'am. I have a motion by Mr. Blakely, a second by Ms. Caldwell-Wilson, and I'll call the roll. Mr. Blakely.
Yes.
Ms. Caldwell-Wilson.
Yes.
Mr. Harrison.
Yes.
Mr. Michelle is absent. Mr. Rodriguez.
No.
Ms.
Too
Vaughn.
much money.
Yes.
Council President McBride.
No.
So ordered, the resolution passes by a count of 4-2 with one absent. Next, we have Resolution 21-203, a resolution approving the third substantial amendment to the fiscal year 2019 annual action plan beginning July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2020. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
By Mr. Blakely. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Harrison. The floor is open.
Council President?
Yes, go right ahead, Councilwoman Vaughn.
Yes, I have, I asked for this to be pulled. I have at length over my tenure on council, have many concerns about how the programs are administered and facilitated by the Housing and Economic Development Department. So it is always odd that we get money in, we get money out, and we constantly have to update the plan, reallocate funds, and it seems that council never gets notified or be part of those discussions. So nor the community. And I know that the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development requires that anytime money comes to the city or anytime the changes take place, money has to be reappropriated across different programs and projects. The citizens have to be properly notified and included. And I know that in this particular resolution, Mr. DeLisle stated that he advertised, but again, you know, I know that one of our citizens came on to the call a few meetings back, Ms. Chaudhry, and she mentioned that, you know, we have to really do some serious, unconventional efforts to really reach out to the community because of our demographic, right? Saying we put it on the website or a quarter page in the Trenton Tony is just not adequate or sufficient for our community. So it should be posted in community centers and stores and everything else. And we don't do that. The outreach by the Housing Economic Department is a complete, it's inadequate. And I would like to see it properly built out and enhanced to make it inclusive for the residents. That's the proper thing and legal thing to do. So I'm going to be voting no on this. And that's all I have to say about that.
Vote, Mr. Collins.
Yes, ma'am. I have an introduction by Mr. Blakely, a second by Mr. Harrison, and I'll call the roll. Mr. Blakely.
Yes.
Ms. Caldwell-Wilson.
Yes.
Mr. Harrison.
Yes.
Mr. Michelle is an excused absence. Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn.
No.
Council President McBride.
Yes.
So ordered. The resolution carries by a vote of 5-1 with one absent. Next, we have Resolution 21-204, a resolution authorizing the City of Trenton to apply and accept a grant from the State of New Jersey Department of Agriculture fiscal year 2022 Summer Food Service Program in the amount of $218,501.80 for the provision of breakfast and lunch for a minimum of 1,745 children in Trenton. Do I have a motion?
So moved. So moved.
Second.
And I'm sorry, I didn't know if that was Mr. Harrison or Mr. Blakely who made the first motion.
That was Mr. Harrison.
Thank you, Mr. Harrison. I have a motion by Mr. Harrison, second by Council President McBride. Floor is open.
You may move to the vote.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Blakely.
Yes.
Ms. Caldwell-Wilson.
Yes.
Mr. Harrison.
Yes.
Mr. Michelle is an excused absence. Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn.
Yes.
Council President McBride.
Yes.
So ordered. Next, we have Resolution 21-191, a resolution exercising the option to extend the contract for an additional 2 years awarded to TEC Elevator, Inc. for the elevator preventative maintenance, material, and equipment repair and replacement from August 1st, 2021 to July 31st, 2023, in an amount not to exceed $34,470 per year for 2 years through bid 2019-31. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
I have a motion by Ms. Caldwell-Wilson. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Harrison. The floor is open.
Council
yes.
President? Council President?
Yes, go right ahead, Councilwoman Colwell.
Yeah, this was the one I asked, Mr. Cruz, about the contract dates, and I believe they changed, they made the corrections and gave them to Mr. Conlon.
It was corrected.
Yeah, Ms.
I got the change through email today.
Yes, ma'am. They sent the updated changes through the email today, and Ms. Rodriguez in my office forwarded that out to the council. That was pretty late. It was about it was close to 3 o'clock, somewhere in that area.
Okay. Yeah, but that was the only issue with
Yeah,
this,
the
with this
date's
resolution.
matched up.
Madam President,
Yes, go right ahead, Councilman Rodriguez.
I have a comment on this. Does this include the new elevator at the Reading Center, Senior Center? Because that's going to be part of that, the elevator system now.
No,
Or
this is
or do we have
maintenance.
to have another contract for this, for the new one?
I think we've already extended the contract for the elevator over there in the Reading Center and the change order. But I would let.
No, that's a brand new elevator that wasn't in service. There was no elevator there.
It's nothing to do with this resolution, though.
Yeah, Madam President, if I may answer.
Yes, go right ahead, Mr. Cruz.
All right. Thank you, Madam President. To Councilman Santiago Rodriguez question. This contract has been in existence, and so there is no room right now for adding additional elevators. It's probably going to take a little longer, probably, for the bid and the actual work to take place. I am certain that once the elevator is installed, there will be a warranty period of probably 1 year minimum, so that there's any kinks with the new elevator, the company would probably be fixing it. So there's no need to have that elevator included into this contract.
Thank you very much for the explanation, Mr. Cruz.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You may continue with the vote.
Yes, ma'am. I have an introduction by Ms. Caldwell-Wilson, a second by Mr. Harrison. Mr. Blakely, your vote, sir.
Yes.
Ms. Caldwell-Wilson.
Yes.
Mr. Harrison.
Yes.
Mr. Michelle is an excused absence. Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn.
Yes.
Council President McBride.
Yes.
So ordered. Next, we have Resolution 21-214, a resolution accepting bid and awarding a contract to Carroll Group, Inc. for removal of spoils, stockpiled, stored, excavated material for a period of 1 year from May 15, 2021 to May 14, 2022, in an amount not to exceed $227,470 to bid 2021-16.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Harrison.
Second.
Second. I have a second by Ms. Caldwell-Wilson. The floor is open.
Hey,
Someone needs to mute themselves.
I'm sorry I couldn't go with you.
What is going on?
That was Mr. Harry Reyes, ma'am, and I've muted him.
Go right ahead.
I have a motion by Mr. Harrison. Do I have a second? I'm sorry, I didn't hear the second.
I second.
Thank you, Ms. Caldwell-Wilson. The floor is open. Council President, would you like me to proceed to the vote?
Please.
Mr. Blakely.
Yes.
Ms. Caldwell-Wilson.
Yes.
Mr. Harrison.
Yes.
Mr. Michelle is an excused absence. Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn.
I'm sorry. Can you read that again?
This is Resolution 21-214, a resolution accepting the bid and awarding a contract to Carroll Group, Inc. for removal of spoils, stockpiled, and stored excavated material for a period of 1 year from May 15, 2021 to May 14, 2022, in an amount not to exceed $227,470 to bid 2021-16.
Is that Mr. Onetary or?
No, ma'am, this is water and sewer.
Yes.
And Council President McBride.
No.
So ordered. The resolution carries by a vote of 5 to 1 with one absent. Let me just go through my docket and make sure we got everything. That is it for the docket. As far as resolutions, Council President, would you like me to?
There are no questions. You may move to the vote.
Council President? Council President?
Yes, who am I speaking?
Mr. Harrison, ma'am.
It's
Councilman
Councilman Harrison.
Yes, go ahead. Go right ahead, Councilman.
Could I ask Mr. Cruz a question?
Yes, go right ahead, Councilman. Mr. Cruz?
Mr. Cruz, will this affect the increase in taxes?
Madam President, may I answer?
Yes, go right ahead.
Okay, thank you, Madam President. Councilman, the transition year budget will not be including a tax increase onto our residents. In fact, we are very confident that when we move forward with the calendar year beginning January 1st of 2022, we are confident that we will be also introducing a budget of zero tax increase as well, giving the city a 30-month zero tax increase in their tax rates.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz.
Thank you.
So the problem that I'm having with this particular ordinance is that a year ago, the administration came to the body and asked for to revert back to a 6-month calendar year. And so if the administration knew that they wanted to revert back to this calendar year, why wasn't a budget already given to the council for this 6 months? I can't take anyone's word about the taxes not being raised when I don't have a budget in front of me to verify that. And so the administration knew a year ago that they wanted to revert. And so I am reluctant to vote for this based on the fact that there is no budget already in the legislative body's hand so that we could determine exactly what is in that budget. Knowing a year ago, last July, that you wanted to revert back to the 6-month calendar. So that's just a problem. That's just a statement I'm having. I'm reluctant to vote for this evening. Mr. Collin, if no one else wants to speak, we can move on to the vote.
Council President? Council President?
Yes, Councilwoman Vaughn.
Yeah, I concur with most of what Council President stated. And as to Council Harrison question about the taxes and the answer from Business Administrator Cruz, I posed that same exact question to DCA about whether or not a tax increase would come about when we pass the budget. Now, again, I don't see how it cannot be a consideration. Actually, DCA did not answer the question in an affirmative. They said clearly they have no way of knowing, and I'm surprised that Mr. Cruz, our business administrator to the city, I don't know whether he heard that answer or he's being disingenuous here tonight. But DCA was clear in their answer here on the record on Tuesday that they will have to have the budget in front of them, and they will have to do that calculation to determine whether there would be a tax increase warranted. And she was not willing to go on the record last night in front of the public to tell them otherwise. So the fact that Mr. Cruz comes here tonight and says, oh, we're going to provide the citizens of Trenton tax relief for 30 straight months. Based on what? I got to ask Mr. Cruz, based on what? What are you basing your numbers on, Mr. Cruz?
All right, Madam President, may I answer?
Yes, go right ahead, Mr. Cruz.
All right, thank you, Madam President. So one of the things that we need to remember, Madam President, is that the budget for the 2021 fiscal year that is ending on June 30th was adopted, I believe, towards the middle of April. Once the budget is adopted, we begin to run numbers for the next year. You are correct that we knew that we were looking forward to possibly changing from a fiscal year to a calendar year, but we could not predict the numbers. As I mentioned before, we had to go and complete our budget documents, provide them to DCA. We went through the hearings with council as well as DCA. The budget was adopted. I can't remember if it was April 14th. But then in the end, once the budget is adopted, it gets plugged into our system. We begin to make payments. The auditor also has to audit this year, the year before we can proceed with the next budget. So the auditor, as well as our finance director, are running numbers every day. We have a budget prepared to introduce the budget to council at the next council meeting. That is our intent for the next 6 months, from July 1st to December 31st, 2021. So it will be ready and it will be in your hands in the next docket. So, and Madam President, I'm not done. Can I continue?
Well,
Yeah,
you're not
yeah,
answering my question.
no, Councilwoman Vaughn.
No. He was
allow
answering,
Mr.
I asked him a question.
Well,
He
wait a
answered your
minute.
question. And your term was already yielded. He answered your question. I asked him a question about the taxes.
Allow him to finish his statement, please. And then when he finished, if you still not
Answer the
satisfied.
question about the taxes, sir.
Councilwoman Vaughn, allow Mr. Cruz to finish. He has the floor.
Answer the question about the taxes.
Go right ahead, Mr. Cruz.
Thank you, Madam President. So as far as the taxes are concerned, my statement stands. We will be introducing a zero tax increase budget to this council at the next docket. That is a fact. Once we do the transition budget, the city saves on by getting additional, by not having to do a payment to pensions, as well as the city receiving for those 6 months, we receive a full state aid from the state. We get in those 6 months, we get a full year worth of aid. And then in 2022, the city once again gets another full year of aid in 2022. So because we do that change and we have that money coming from the state, even though it's only for 6 months, that's when the surplus happens. And we will be entering the 2022 budget year with a surplus. I'm not going to make, I'm not going to give you figures right now, because as I mentioned, we still have to run numbers, but it's in the neighborhood of about $30 million in surplus. So this is why I am saying that we are comfortable to say that in 2022, the calendar year, there will not be a tax increase for the residents. And in your budget that we will be introducing to council in the next council meeting, the transition budget for the July to December will not include a tax increase either.
Totally absurd, and I would expect more from the business administrator from the city of Trenton. He has not come prepared with the necessary numbers to make such an egregious statement to the taxpayers that there will be no tax increase. There's no way he could possibly know that unless he had the data and had calculated, and he has not. So I would not take what Business Administrator Cruz just stated to be of any credibility. So I will not vote for this. I will not. I stated my position on Tuesday with the representative from DCA, and she was clear in her answer that she would not be able to address the tax issue, and she could not attest to whether there will be an increase or not. But she was clear it potentially can be. And here our business administrator is going against that statement. So I will, and I'm just going to use my own common sense to know that last year the administration came and told the council that they were getting $25 million from the state in revenue. And then come to find out, we had a tremendous shortfall in the budget. And they didn't get the 25 million. So it's always these, we're going to get this, we're going to have a surplus, we're going to do this. And then time comes, oh, we got to raise taxes. This has been a track record of this administration and Business Administrator Cruz. So right now, he's just talking nonsense. So I will not be voting for this. Thank you, Council President.
Madam President, one last comment, if I may.
Yes, Mr. Cruz, go right ahead.
Thank you, Madam President. So the when Councilwoman asked the representative of DCA if she could predict that there was going to be a tax increase in the city, she couldn't answer that question. I mean, the question needed to be directed to either myself or Director Ron Zielinski, because we are the ones that are seeing the day-to-day numbers, not DCA. DCA will only know if there is a tax increase only after the budget is sent to DCA for approval. Once the council gets the budget and they review it, and then they would be able to make a statement to say, yes, there is an increase, or no, there is no increase. But as of right now, they don't see our numbers. They're not seeing the projections. So she would have been out of line to say that she could predict whether there was a tax increase or not. This is why I'm saying that the best people to ask that question would be the people that are operating on the day-to-day in the city. And I stand by my statement, there will be a zero tax increase.
So, Mr. Cruz, my question to you is, if reverting back to the 6-month calendar is important to the administration, and just listening to you, everyone about this, how important it is to the city, why can't we get the budget before we move on this vote? Would that not be the best way to handle this, is to get the budget and then next week or the next council meeting give us a chance to look at those numbers and then vote, make this crucial vote?
Yes. So, Madam President, I don't want you to think that we are pressuring you into voting this ordinance into place, but there are deadlines that must be met before we are able to submit the application to the Department of Community Affairs, Local Finance Board. The Local Finance Board has to have the application by no later than June 23rd, which is the Wednesday before our meeting. Before then, we would have to have the second reading with an adopted ordinance in place for us to present that ordinance to the Local Finance Board. So this is why the timing is important. We are not going to have the ability to have an adopted ordinance by the 23rd, because you need to have a first reading and a second reading. The second reading will take place on the first meeting in June. The second meeting in June, as I mentioned, will be the Thursday after the Wednesday when the application is due. So if the application time wouldn't have been a factor, I would have said, you know what, Council President, yes, let's table it, and we can provide further. We can provide you the budget before you vote on it. But because of time is of the essence, we need to move forward with the first reading. Don't forget, we still have a couple of more weeks. You will have the budget. We'll try to provide the budget to you as quickly as we can before the meeting before the first meeting in June, so that you can review it before the second reading. I'm sorry.
No. That's I think that is part of my other question. But so if your ordinance does not pass this evening, when is the next time you can bring this ordinance before us And what would be the time for that calendar year? Would it be in December?
No, if we don't get this done now, it would have to wait until once again until June of next year again. There's only one time window in the year to make that transfer when we are stepping away from the calendar. I mean, from the fiscal year into the calendar year, and
Okay.
that's the only time that we can do it.
All righty. Thank you.
President Bryant?
Yes, go right ahead, Councilman Blakely.
Thank you. I just want to say this seems like a slam dunk. This is incredibly good news. The fact that city taxpayers would receive an unprecedented 30 months of tax relief, particularly in the midst of a pandemic. I support this 100%. I think it's sensible. Quite frankly, I didn't believe it could be done. And the fact that the administration is going to share the budget with us prior to the second reading of this ordinance gives me greater confidence as well. The administration should be commended for their hard work. This is incredibly good news. And, you know, quite frankly, the administration should be really proud of making this a possibility. I think that on multiple levels, this is a win. As I mentioned, it's a win because our residents will get 30 months of unprecedented zero tax increases. That probably hasn't happened in decades in the city. And I think that this is a bit of good news in a very dark time in our city in terms of dealing with the issues as it relates to COVID and the economic carnage that COVID has brought on the city. And I just want to say, as I mentioned, the administration should be commended, the business administrator, the chief of staff, the finance department. This is a slam dunk that our residents who face some of the highest tax rates in the state. The fact that this administration brings this possibility is fantastic. And so for that reason, I'll be supporting it. And I think that we have a real opportunity, you know, with the transition to a calendar year budget and with this influx of funds to really start to address some of the long-term issues.
There's a question for Mr. Cruz.
My question is, how did you got? You know, in fact, I made my statement. I guess we can go to the vote. This is a slam dunk, and I just want to say thank you.
Madam President?
Yes,
Madam President?
Councilwoman Caldwell-Wilson, and then Mr. Rodriguez. Go right ahead.
Yeah, you know, I would like to say that, and I just would like to say that I concur with Councilman Blakely. The other thing that really, I really feel this is a good move is future budgets will no longer be held up because we have to wait for the state fiscal year to tell us when we're getting our transitional aid if we're still on the transitional aid. So there is going to be no excuse for this council not to receive future budgets on time. And I think this is, the only thing is that I thought maybe the administration would possibly look at a tax decrease. Just keep that in mind, because if we're bringing in so much revenue, tax relief is tax relief. Keeping it flat is not tax relief. Lowering the taxes is tax relief. But anyway, thank you. I know you're all working very hard on it.
Councilman Rodriguez?
Yes, I'm going to vote yes for this. I believe this is the right time to do it. We're going to be getting an injection of money from the American Recovery Act. My question to Mr. Cruz is, are we going to return the $8 million that we used for the last budget from Trenton Water Works? Are we going to be returning it to the surplus of Trenton Water Works? We have the opportunity now with the American Recovery Act. I believe we use the whole surplus. Are we going to do that?
We're talking about this ordinance now.
No, that was the new budget came up, Madam President, so it's relevant. They were talking about the new budget, so I am just asking that question.
Madam President, would you like me to respond?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Madam President. Councilman, the money that is used in the city's budget is actually money for services that are rendered by various departments within the city for Trenton Waterworks. As a utility, the city departments, which include the law department, administration, who else? The clerk's office, various departments do portions of work to support the operations of Trenton Waterworks. So when we say that the money is being used, is actually something that is actually legal to do because we support their operations. As far as surplus, Councilman, the money from TWW was actually the money that you believe was used by the city was actually money that was also used by TWW because of the lack of collection due to COVID. And as you can all recall, there was a moratorium by the governor.
I don't want to get too far off of the ordinance. I need to stay focused here on this particular ordinance. And we're going way over.
I believe this is relevant. This point is relevant. And he's going the right way. That we could recoup that money, use the American Recovery Act to pay that money that was lost by Waterworks. I read that package that you sent, and it's possible. We could do that. Yes.
Mr. Collin, I'm going to ask to move on based on the fact that I think we're moving off of the subject of this ordinance and go ahead to the vote.
I have an introduction by Mr. Blakely for the first reading of this ordinance and a second by Mr. Harrison. I'll not call the roll. Mr. Blakely.
Yes.
Ms. Caldwell-Wilson.
Yes.
Mr. Harrison.
Yes.
Mr. Michelle is an excused absence. Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Mr. Vaughn.
Absolutely not. No.
Council President McBride.
Yes.
Resolution passes by a vote of 5-1 with one absent. The public hearing will be on June 10th, 2021. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Council President, that wraps up the resolutions and ordinances for tonight. Would you like to proceed to public comments?
Yes, I would.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the public comment section of the Trenton City Council meeting. You will be granted 10 minutes to speak on any topic. We ask that you maintain the rules of decorum and that you be polite. You don't need to yell into the, sometimes when we get up there, we get a little bit higher in voice, and it's natural. It's not, I know you're not yelling at us, but you can maintain an even tone. If you'd like to be recognized, please either raise your hand. If you're on a telephone and you are muted, please dial *6 to unmute yourself, and you can be unmuted. If you are having a problem unmuting yourself, please exit out of the meeting and then come back into the meeting, because we're having problems with Microsoft. Sometimes people can't unmute themselves. So that being said, would anybody like to speak during the public portion of tonight's meeting?
Adam's hand is raised.
I have, I'll go with, first hand I have is from a Brady Rivera. Council President, would you like to recognize Brady Rivera?
Yes, please.
Please take your name and address for the record.
Hello, hi. Am I clear and not too loud to the phone?
Perfect, sir. Good job.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Just want to make sure.
State your name and your ward for the record, where you live generally.
My name is Brady Rivera. I am resident in Hamilton, but I do have I'm just from Hamilton.
Thank you, sir.
So I just had one question before my comment. I just want to clarify something. Because in the beginning of the meeting, I was doing some other things, so I was trying to listen here and there. But just to clarify, so the resolution for Medicare for All, that resolution did pass, yes?
Yes, sir, it did.
Okay, awesome. Because I want to comment on that. I just wanted to thank the City Council for voting in favor of endorsing the resolution to endorse Medicare for All. Me being a public health volunteer, vulnerable populations outreach coordinator. I work here with the Division of Health in Hamilton Township. And to me, healthcare is an extremely important right that all humans should have, and especially being from like one of the most resource-rich and powerful countries in the world. I believe that this is an extremely important thing to pass, something to endorse, and something that we should definitely implement nationwide. So I'm happy that you guys will be pushing for this. I know that I have family members that live in Trenton currently. I'm still very tied to my family and community there as well. And with my experience being in public health right now, I know one of the biggest concerns that people have, both citizens and non-citizens, is paying for their health care. And so, passing Medicare for all and giving everyone that universal health care, that right, is extremely important. At this point, it's no longer how accessible it is, but just that it's always there, the need to have people, getting their health care on demand for the big and small things that they need, especially being from a community, I'm Hispanic, being in a community with minorities. We are hit hardest by healthcare when we don't have the accessibility, when we don't have the money to pay for our healthcare, regardless of whether or not the access is there, because the access means nothing if we don't have the money. If there is, systemic racism in the healthcare and in private insurance system. So making everything more public, more universal, I think is an extremely important thing, not just for minorities, but just all Americans and all citizens and non-citizens. And I just want to, again, just express my thanks to the City Council for endorsing this resolution. And I think I'll just yield my time for there. Thank you for endorsing this very important piece of legislation and resolution.
Council President, next we have Ms. Sherry Garrett seeking recognition. Council President, would you like to acknowledge Ms. Garrett?
Yeah.
Hold on, I will find it. We'll find it. Council President, Ms. Garrett would like to speak. Would you like to acknowledge Ms. Garrett? You're still muted, ma'am.
Mr. Conlon, it just kept kicking me out, Mr. Conlon.
My apologies, ma'am. Would you like to acknowledge Ms. Garrett? Ms. Garrett?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Council President McBride. I just wanted to comment on the calendar year, the change from the state fiscal year to the calendar year from January to December. It seems like, again, this is a rushed thing brought up at the last minute without careful review. It just seems to always not, the results are not positive or beneficial most of the time when this happens. And it seems like there's other moving parts to the issues that are not addressed when something is rushed through. And I just think that the council and the administration should have probably waited until next year, where it was carefully planned and there was a budget that we could have reviewed, or residents could have reviewed and looked at to see what the benefits would have been prior to approving this. But again, we come up with these scenarios to sound good, sound bites to sound good. But a few council people that I know for sure, it sounds like they a few of them, they hear a few things that sound like it makes them look good, and they agree to it, and then they try to sell it, and it doesn't.
Ma'am, Ms. Garrett, please don't disparage the council. It's improper. Thank you. Please don't disparage any council.
I wasn't doing that. Thank you. But it just, it seems like the same old, process and, business as usual. and it doesn't benefit the city of Trenton. And that's a big issue that comes up every council meeting every year, and we still come up with the same results, and the argument is still the same. There's no result. So, again, I'm asking the council to please, going forward, let's don't push stuff through just to push it through because it sounds great. Because a lot of times it's not. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council President, next we have Mr. Joseph Marchia.
Yes.
And if I pronounce your name, sir, I apologize. Please pronounce it for the record. Thank you.
I'm muted. The name's pronounced Joe Marchica. And again, I'm the chair of our Revolution Trenton Mercer. Let me pull on my phone real quick. I just wanted to thank the council again for passing the resolution in favor of Medicare for All. I'll keep this quick. I spoke on Tuesday, so I don't want to repeat myself too much, but it's really important to us as an organization and to all of New Jersey, all of the U.S. to get this legislation passed.
Most of that, the vast majority of that is repurposed for the that's already been appropriated. And they haven't agreed on the pay for it.
Mr. Collins.
Democrats in the White House say we want to raise taxes on corporations and people over $400,000 to pay for this. So I think they're still really, really far apart. But yes, I think Joe Biden sincerely.
Wait until the sound is back.
Bipartisan. I just don't know if they're going to be able to get there.
What about that talking point? Part of the Kabuki theater is more of the shrine band of Republicans saying they like talking to President Biden, but they're not sure he's
IT cannot find
where he is.
Mara is correct that this is Kabuki theater. One thing, though, that we shouldn't, pass by in this is that, the reports are that Joe Biden's budget, that his proposal includes the expected sunsetting of those Trump tax cuts, not just for high-earning Americans.
Thank you.
This is disgusting, Mr. Collins.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys getting that taken care of. No, it's okay.
Thank you.
It happens. But again, I just wanted to briefly thank the council. It's very important to communities of color like Trenton. It's very important to New Jersey as a whole, the United States as a whole, to get this passed. We can guarantee healthcare truly as a human right and not make it something that is only accessible if you have the right kind of job or the right income or, various other barriers that are currently in place to what should be a human right. So thank you, council. Really appreciate it. I'll yield the rest of my time.
Thank you.
I would like to know if I could be recognized. I don't know if you still have hands up. I'm on the phone.
Your name, ma'am?
Maureen Dabinski.
Council President,
I just want to say what we want is...
Ms. Dabinski, please hold on 1 second until you recognize Council President Ms. Maureen Dabinski.
Yes, and she needs to announce herself and give us her address, please.
Please state your name and address for the record, ma'am. You are recognized.
Okay. It's Maureen Dabinski, 215 East Front Street in Trenton. I think what we really need is Medicaid for all, not Medicare for all. I'm on Medicare. I just got diagnosed with breast cancer. I wake up in a cold sweat in the morning because I don't know how the Medicare supplement is going to really afford all of this. If I had Medicaid, I would be getting a total free care. I'd get dentures now free. I would get prescriptions free. I'd get free rides to all my medical appointments. Everything is free on Medicaid, not Medicare. Many people are mistaken. Medicare, first of all, only covers Part A hospitalization and only Part B outpatient 80%. You need a supplement, and the supplement doesn't cover a whole lot for everything else. So what we really need, and the state of New Jersey is wonderful because those who've never worked can get Medicaid and get all free care. I worked 40 years, I get Medicare, and I have to pay for a lot. And I'm very upset, and I plan to go to the state legislature about this. I just needed to say that because I don't even know how I'm going to take care of my care. I hope one of you could get me on Medicaid, then maybe I might live. Otherwise, I'm probably just going to go with hospice care. Thank you.
Mr. Belinsky, if you contact my office, I will find what I can for you. You can email me at clerk@trentonnj.org, and I'll find out whatever I can for you, okay? I'll contact the county, and we'll see what we can do.
Well, Mr. Conlon, if not, you can refer her to me, and I explain what Medicare for all is. It's similar to Medicaid. It's just the one patient that is not, she's confused with Medicare for all.
Yeah, and I know it's not typical.
Yeah, this is not an open forum. Her time is yielded. I'm looking for the next person. Does anybody else wish to, who hasn't spoken already, speak for the Trenton City Council tonight?
Yes, I would. My name is Faith Ann Pearson.
Council President, would you like to recognize Faith Ann Pearson?
Yes, please. Go right ahead.
Ms. Pearson, you've been recognized.
Thank you. Did you get my email from Sunday last week? I had emailed you referencing the question I had last Sunday about the house being torn down so quickly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I believe you sent an email address to the Trenton City Council.
Okay. I sent it to the clerk's office with a copy to the council.
Yes, ma'am. I forwarded that to the council. I do remember receiving the email. I did forward it on to the council.
That
Is there anyone else, Mr. Conlon?
Ms. Pearson, are you done?
No, I was going to say that the resolution that you passed today referencing the tearing down of the house on 24 Fountain Lane, and then you had another one referencing demolition as, but it doesn't specify the property. One is 21-182, the other is 21-202, both of which I understand were fires. There's a piece of property right now. It's on Brunig Avenue. It has a fire, and all the debris is still out in the street. Thank you.
And the property, Ms. Pearson, is 712 Martin Luther King Boulevard on Resolution 21-202. Would anybody else like to be recognized by the Trenton City Council? If you're on a phone and you're muted, please dial *6 to unmute yourself. If you're on a device, you can look for the little microphone. I don't see any more hands raised. Would anybody else, if you're on a phone, please do speak out, and then I will seek recognition. Council President, I don't see anybody else. Would you like to do a motion to close public portion?
Yes, motion to close.
Want to yield my 10 minutes to Ms. Councilwoman Bond.
You cannot do that, sir. It is not permissible under the rules.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yes, it is.
No, sir. Each member,
does that, or
sir, each member
show me where,
10 minutes.
send it to me in writing.
A316 says each member gets only 10 minutes, sir. You cannot yield your time to the minutes. You cannot yield your time. Each member is only given 10 minutes of time for the meeting per Rule A316.
Okay, Mr.
I'll
Attorney.
send that to you in the morning, sir.
Yes.
Please send that to all of the council.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, but but Santi, Councilman Rodriguez, well, I gotta wait for Council President to yield the floor to me.
Yes, Councilwoman Vaughn.
Yes, thank you, Councilman Rodriguez, for your generous offer, and we should get clear guidance on that from the clerk, if not from the city attorney or external law firm as well. Because it seems to me that we're not getting proper advice, and legal advice should not be coming from the clerk's office anyways. So we will get the law department to give us, who's on the law, whoever's on the law, Ms. Samuels, can you please follow up with advice for the council on yielding civic comment time to other council members?
Council President, can I respond?
Yes, you can.
Councilwoman Vaughn, yes, I will check the ordinance and provide that information.
Yes. I just want to say I wanted to speak very frankly about the DCA proposal on Tuesday. I find it so concerning that the state, once again, feels like they can come into our municipality or any municipality to make suggestions. If somebody, again, I don't know why the rules are up on the screen right now. I just asked the law department to do that. Why is Mr. Collin interrupting my civic comments, Council President?
I don't think he's interrupting. You can go ahead and finish this.
But that should not be on the screen at this moment. No one, okay? Again, I asked Sally Samuels to take care of it. He's not an attorney. Let our law department take care of it. So I just wanted to say that when I came on council, one of the first resolutions I proposed was to get rid of the MOU. And I think everybody understands the rationale for that. Our municipality has an elected council, elected mayor. We have our own school district. We have our own police department and fire department. We have our own tax base. We make our own decisions. If we want to move to a calendar year versus a fiscal year, that is something that we should recommend from our council and/or our mayor, and also with consultation with our citizens, with the residents and taxpayers of the city of Trenton. And not once has any communication from the administration has gone out to the residents of the city about transferring to a transitioning to a new fiscal year. I think that is outrageous that the mayor and/or the council president did not send any communication to the residents and taxpayers to the city about transitioning their fiscal year to a calendar year. The budget are funds by the taxpayers of the city. It's not the council. We are the stewards of that money for a short period of time, for 4 years. But that decision is up to the people of the city. And we failed to give them adequate communication that this was coming down the pipe. Furthermore, the presentation was inadequate, wasn't even detailed. And here we are today, Mr. Cruz can't even give us any numbers. We should have a full cost benefit analysis. We should have residents should understand clearly the pros and cons of the transition. There's nothing in that presentation.
No. What is going on with this?
What is going on? Yo, geez, you look good.
And that's, so my concern is the MOU does not state that the state gets to recommend these type of strategies and approaches to the city of Trenton. All the state's supposed to do is to ensure that we are on target to get our revenues up to par, our revenue streams up to par, and to get our city fiscally healthy. And we're not going down the road of a fiscal crisis or bankruptcy. So for them to come in and start telling us what to do and how to do it, and things are good because Patterson is doing it, or Passaic is doing it, and Camden is doing it. Well, this is Trenton. Our municipality, we're different than any other municipality. The electorate, we don't care what DCA thinks. I don't care what DCA thinks, and a lot of my constituents don't care what the state thinks. The state needs to worry about their own. Governor Murphy and DCA needs to worry about state's fiscal health, not Trenton. We have our elected government to do that. And again, Mr. Cruz, Mayor Gussie Orr, Council President, along with the other members of council, there was no communication that went out to this community about transitioning their budget. And right now, I could tell you this much. No one on this council fully understands the ramifications and implications. No one has gotten the pros and cons and benefits. And all we got is from Mr. Cruz promising us that there ain't going to be any tax increases. And actually, Councilwoman Caldwell-Wilson stated very eloquently, okay, keeping the tax flat is not the real goal, right? It's getting it reduced. And quite frankly, whether we are in a fiscal year or calendar year, the taxes should, if we stay with the fiscal year, that goal of keeping the taxes flat or discounted, or seeing a decrease over 30 months should happen anyways. It shouldn't be predicated on the fact that we're moving to a calendar year. That makes no sense. Makes no sense at all. So, and I'm just shocked that a business administrator is proposing such a thing without any basis, without putting any data forward that could substantiate his claims. So he can forecast of no tax increase, keeping taxes flat, but he can't back it up with numbers. He can't back it up with a forecast. Then what is he pulling? Where is he getting the numbers from? He did answer my question, but my position is that we stay on the fiscal year. We concentrate on getting the city in a better fiscal position, getting our budget healthy, getting our revenue streams healthy, like the MOU says, right? Here it is, the state telling us to embark on this transition when they don't even measure us to see whether or not we're making the mark on other revenues. They have not come to the table to try to negotiate paying their fair share of taxes. So that's how Trenton is going to become fiscally healthy when the state starts paying their fair share of the taxes. So I don't appreciate what DCA has done, and I'm just shocked that the administration and this council has allowed them to hijack our government in this way when we have all expressed interest in coming out from the MOU. And this is another instance where we are show that we have no independence from the state. So strategies about how we raise revenues, how we manage our budget, that should come from the council and the mayor, not from DCA. And that presentation should have been presented by the business administrator, not an agent from the Department of Community Affairs. And the business administrator, along the mayor, should be sending out communication to the citizens of the city about this proposal and what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, the benefits of it to them, what the timing is. It's a joke. Adam Cruz should be ashamed of himself. It's a joke. So I will not support this at all. And I'm going to be I just want folks to know that I'm going to be holding some meetings this weekend, and this is going to be part of the discussion. The communication that's coming out from this council and the mayor is just not sufficient when you're talking about huge policy decisions like this. This is a major policy decision, and we didn't even think to engage our taxpayers. And I don't believe for a moment that their taxes are not going to be increased, because at the end of the day, if we stay on the fiscal year, the state fiscal year, those taxes, that same offer should be, that same goal should be keeping the taxes flat and/or, as Council Vice President Caldwell Wilson stated, getting a decrease for the citizens. And that should not be predicated on whether we go what fiscal year we're on. And that's ridiculous. So what they're saying is if we don't move to a calendar year, our taxes are going to increase. Is that what they're telling us? That's just nonsensical. So again, it's all this, the house is on fire, we got to go through this calendar. We got to change the calendar year. If we don't, we're not going to get this. We're not going to get that. Our taxes are going to go through the roof. Please. So we need to do better. And I'm going to continue to advocate for more progress in these type of spaces. When you're talking about major policy decisions like this, keep the state out of Trenton. Thank you, Council President. I yield my time.
All right. Thank you. I would like to take this time to thank each and every one of you for coming to the council meeting this evening. I want to thank all of the directors and all of our constituents, and I would like to thank my colleagues on the council. I thank each and every one of you. This weekend is the Memorial Day weekend. I hope that all of you will enjoy your families and I hope that the police department is going to be on high alert in our community, and their presence is known in the community. I don't want to hear about any devastation over the holiday weekend. I hope that that is under control, and I look forward to talking to you all again in a week. Enjoy your holiday weekend. Thank you all again. Move for adjournment, Mr. Conlon.
I have a motion by Council President McBride. I have a second by Ms. Caldwell-Wilson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So ordered. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
I also just want to say one last thing to the public. I apologize at the invocation. I meant to include something for Memorial Day weekend for those members of the services who have given their life in service to this great nation. Please remember them this weekend during Memorial Day weekend for the holiday. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, and by the way, have a great night. Go home, eat dinner, do something else.
Thank you.